Hello everybody and welcome back to the Loft in Battleground Games and Hobbies, Abington, Massachusetts. I'm Andrew, hello, and today I am going to be doing a little bit more work on the Star Wars Legion demo kit for the Abington location of Battleground. This is what you will be playing with if you come in and decide to play a quick demo game. And I want to have something available to put on the table today, so I'm dashing desperately to try and get everything set up. If you were listening or watched yesterday, you will have seen or heard that I had a minor disaster. And let me show this to you. So, I spent a bunch of time yesterday painting up some of my stormtroopers. And, you know, just getting a little bit of detail on them. There's not a lot of detail on there yet. They're still very basic. But compare this stormtrooper here to this stormtrooper here, and maybe you can see, I know it's washed out and everything, but this guy has no detail on him. He's just a white blob. It actually looks just the way it shows up to you. And that is the disaster I had yesterday with the primer. So I've got 8 of these fellows who spent last night in a bath. I put them in some simple green and let them sit overnight. It didn't have much impact. That's going to take time. So my plan is each night put these guys back in their bath and take them out in the morning so that people have something to play with. They're still figures. You can still use them. They're just not going to look good, which is disappointing, but that's life. So my goal for today, I've got 3 projects I want to work on. The first is, this is the AT-RT, very cool Rebel transport. I don't know if this is something from one of the shows or anything like that, but it is a cool troop for this game. It comes with 3 different options for guns. There's a sort of a Gatling gun, there's a flamethrower, and there's a rifle. So I want to magnetize this. I have never done a magnetization before, so this is kind of nerve-wracking, but I believe I can do this. I have some magnets. There we are. These are the 1/8 inch and by 1/16 inch. I have been told these are the correct size, and actually if you look at them, they're the right size for the end of these. So it should be pretty straightforward. The one, and I don't believe it's going to be an issue, is that I have primed this in gray, and if any primer got up into the hole here where the magnet needs to go, that could be an issue. Hopefully it's not an issue. So let's try this out. Worst thing that happens is I totally muck this up and have to start over, which, I mean, I have to just choose one gun and not go with any other options. So I think what I'll do is pop off 2 magnets. There we are. See how much space that would take on the end of the gun here. And just lop that much off. Maybe leave a little extra. Cool. Alright, well that's one way to measure. Magnets are magnetic. Did you guys know that? I try and do this without cutting a hole in one of the last Battleground playmats. Maybe just scissors would be better than a hobby knife. Although, to be fair, my hobby knife is a little bit, it's well used. It's well used, let's just say that. This is taking longer than I anticipated. I don't have a lot of time today. If I just stick this in there, is it going to stay in place? There's not actually as much give as I thought there would be here. So I may just glue the magnet to the end of it. So you can see the back of the flamethrower. If I cut that off, and I feel like adding a little bit of distance here is not going to be a big issue. Let's try and get one of the magnets glued into this hole. That should be relatively easy. I'm just going to put a tiny dab of glue on the magnet itself. Whoa, gracious, and everywhere. A tiny dab of glue in the hole where the gun is supposed to go. There you go. And then if I can just finagle the magnet into that hole, I'll use the gun end of the rifle to shove it in. Oh, nope, it's in sideways. That's not what I want at all. Aha! This is the pin from my glue. And it is conveniently metallic. Come on. So I feel like there may actually be some primer, just enough to make this hole slightly too small. Hobby knife time. Could go grab my drill out of the car. See if that made a difference. Man, this does not want to go in the hole. Perhaps should have tried to do this before gluing the front piece onto this guy. It's a piece of advice to give to anybody who wants to magnetize this, is perhaps... Alright. I am wasting too much time on this. This is something I'm going to have to come back to. Well, I got the magnet in the right area. Will it go in is the question. It's going in at an angle is the problem now. Now it's wedged. Yeah, I'm wasting way too much time on this. I need to do some painting. This will be a chore for future me to work on. I was really hoping this would just go in. Well, it's kind of in now. Oh, oh, oh! Can I go any further? No? Okay. So now there's a magnet in a hole. So if I stick a magnet on that magnet, there we go. This is the first time I've ever attempted to magnetize anything, and where is the glitch here? There's some resistance on one side of the magnet here. It's right here. You know what I need? I need a marker or something. I want to know which side of this magnet connects there. Because if I put it in upside down, it's not going to work. Okay. So, trying to keep this. Let's see what happens if I try and stick it in the other way. Whoop. Okay, this is definitely the correct orientation. So let's try gluing that onto the base of one of the guns. Woo! And not gluing it onto my hobby knife would be nice. This magnet is slightly broader than the gun, so that's part of the issue there. Oh gracious, I do not have the patience for this stuff. Now the magnet is covered in glue. Alright, I'm going to put this stuff aside for now. We'll work on this later. I don't have time. But I'm confident I can get this to work. It's just going to be a process. And I've got halfway there. There's a magnet lodged in there. I just need to get the other half done. Yeah, that's going to work fine. If I can stick the magnets to the guns. I think using Zap-A-Gap to glue metal to plastic might not work. I may want to try some Gorilla Glue. I have some Gorilla Glue. Might do the trick. This is going to be so awesome if I can get it to work. But I just wasted like 20 minutes doing that. Oh, hey! Good morning, Malcolm. How's it going? Malcolm, are you planning to get the Star Wars Legion stuff? Certainly some gorgeous models and things. Okay, so next challenge for today is I have not yet glued the posts that are supposed to hold the speeder bikes. So zoop zoop, I just need to do that. But again, a little bit of primer has gotten into this hole where the post goes, so I have to dig that out a little bit. Oh no! Would have been nice if I could have done that without knocking a piece off the side of the bike. Fine, everything's fine. Let's make sure that the primer is out of that hole before I glue this piece back on. So, should just go zoop, like so. And then add some glue to hold it in place. Yeah. Just, it's a tight fit. But with glue, I believe it'll work. I want to get this out of the way so that I can do some painting. Yesterday, I started work on Darth Vader. I want to finish work on him. Basically, my plan for today is to do the hero figures. So I'm doing Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker today. That's my plan once I get these speeder bikes put together. The trick here is I really don't want to knock the peg off the stand. Oh, there we go. That's a good fit. All right, excellent. Just a little bit more. And then I'll glue that in place. And glue the piece off, glue the piece back on the side that I knocked off. These speeder bikes had several pieces, like the pedals here and the flanges on the front, that have nothing that really holds them in place except the glue. And for somebody like myself, who lacks the patience to hold things in place for like the 5 minutes it would take for that glue to set, it's frustrating. That's all right. Hopefully this will stay on. I was hoping that a coat of paint over it would act to sort of increase the bond. All that sets. Put some glue in here. So I've debated a long time, Malcolm, about how I'm going to paint Luke. He really looks like he's dressed in his outfit from Return of the Jedi. Don't you think? But it's open to interpretation. And after doing a bunch of work on Vader last night, I decided that it would be redundant and boring to do Luke all in grays and blacks. So I'm going with Bespin Luke. Yeah, I'm going with Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back Luke. There we are. Glued that bit back on. Glued that onto its post. Obviously a lot of work to be done on some of these. I want to do a lot more work on the bases. And I've only just primed. I'll do this without knocking that bit off again. I feel like this isn't all the fault of primer going into the hole and making it too small for the post. I think some of it is there's actually a little bit of a mold line inside the hole here. I don't know if that's possible. Let's see if that's gonna work. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, excellent. Just a dab of glue. Oh, too much glue. It's fine. It's way too much glue. Here we go. And that just went right on. That was much easier than the other one. So there's my speeder bikes done. I mean, not done, obviously. There's a lot more to be done with them. That hobby knife has taken some abuse. I need to put a new blade on it at some point. All right. So I think the next thing I want to do is finish Darth Vader, and then we'll work on Luke. I've got until 9. Oh, just for illustrative purposes, these are the speeder bike riders. I'm painting them separate from the bikes. So let's just stick this guy on here and see how he looks. Looks pretty good. See, now this guy, when I have him set in, his feet are actually on the pedals quite perfectly. Here's the other speeder bike rider. Stick his things in there. He sits a little bit higher. Oh, now I've broken the pedals. Okay, that's fine, because I actually want to re-glue the pedals in such a way that they touch his feet. So, give me a second to do that. I'm not actually going to glue the pedals onto his feet, because I still want to do a lot more work painting both the speeder bike and the rider. But at least now I have him on the bike for reference. Stick that on like that. And then it's just a matter of patience, which I do not have. I'm gonna leave that to set and just sort of prop this guy upside down for now. There we go. Okay. Vader. So yesterday on stream, did I say 9 p.m.? No, I'm sorry. I have until noon, which is when the store opens. I wanted to start at 9, but I started a little late. So yesterday I was debating long and hard about Vader's helmet. I've got the rest of him kind of based out, but his helmet, I was agonizing about it. I want his eyes to be darker than the helmet, so I just wasn't going to do the helmet in pure black. I think I'm going to do the same color that I've done his cape in, which is, where did I put it? Necromancer Cloak from Vallejo. Here we are. Army Painter Necromancer Cloak. So I'm just going to slap that on there. Oh, gracious. I didn't get myself any water for my paint. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Just had to get some water to wash my brushes. Alright. So we're going to start with Vader's helmet here. And then we'll work a little bit on his chest plate. There we go. My fingers smell like simple green because I spent so much time this morning fishing the unfortunate stormtroopers out of the simple green where they had been residing. So, Necromancer's Cloak. So my goal is by noon to have the two hero figures, Luke and Darth Vader, very nicely based, and maybe get a wash on them so that they're ready to be played with. Then I have to figure out how to play this game, because I haven't even looked at the instructions yet. I've just been building and painting and working like mad to get everybody done. A little more than I wanted there. Amanda has a gloss finish, just a Games Workshop gloss finish paint that she's got. I really want to borrow that from her for some of the bits on these guys. I'd like to put a gloss on Vader's eyes there. I'd like to put a gloss on his lightsaber. So it's not a all the time thing, Malcolm, that we paint up for demo purposes. It's usually for big releases. The last demo set that we put together was Warhammer 40k 8th edition. We've still got that. It's in the terrain cabinet here at the Abington store. I didn't do the inside of his cloak because the front side was still, or the back side was still drying when I finished with him last night. We have also got Blood Bowl teams, demo Blood Bowl teams painted up. But Star Wars Legion we knew was going to be a big release for us, so we wanted to have a demo kit for each of the 3 locations. So Nick Howe is doing one of the demos. I don't know who is doing the other. I'm definitely the most amateur doing a demo kit, and I also had less lead time. We bought in the Norton location enough product that we got an advance copy of the game that Nick got, I think, 2 weeks ago. And he, in theory, has been painting that ever since he picked it up here in the store. So not only is he a vastly more experienced and better painter than I, but he's had more lead time to work on his thing. I don't really mind. Just means that my demo set is obviously not going to be done by the time I open at noon today. I'm making some progress on it. Like I said, I want to have the hero figures at least in a presentable state. But I won't have everybody done. Grabbed way too much paint that time. I mentioned this yesterday, but the hardest lesson for me, or the thing that I've slowly been picking up through experience for painting, is how to grab the right amount of paint on your brush. Because you don't want to just dip the brush in and grab a whole bunch of paint. You want just enough on the tip of the brush to give you something to work with, and then you sort of move it around once you get it onto the model. And this is a very thick paint as well. So a little goes a long way. Figure once I'm done working on his helmet, I'll work on his chest plate a little bit and his belt. It adds a little bit of color because his chest plate and belt have different colored lights and stuff on them. And then do a quick wash. Oh, and work on his base. He popped off of his base yesterday when I was testing putting his head on his body. So I need to glue him back on his base, and I want to finish painting his base. Okay. That's pretty good, I think. A couple little details I want to bring in there. There is a difference in color between his eyes and his helmet, but it's very, very subtle. So I'm going to have to do something to make that less subtle. Anyhow, that's... Oh, well, I should do the inside of his cloak. I can use a broader brush for this, because it's a much broader surface. And this is not going to be open for a lot of scrutiny, because once I glue his head on, the inside of his cloak is mostly obscured. But I should paint it, I believe. You may be able to see around the edges of it. Bottom of his cloak is going to be right up against his base, so again, that doesn't need a lot of detail or attention. Just quickly get some paint on there so I can move on to the more fun bits. Alright, that's fine. It doesn't have to be good. It just needs to be done. Alright. So there's that. Make sure I wash my brush off a little bit. And let's find an image for me to work off of so that I know how he should look. Do a quick image search. Darth Vader, not Darty Vader. That would be something completely different. Images. I want a full body image so that I can see his belt and everything. So this is actually a model. Here we are. This is what I'm going for. So we've got the lights and stuff on his chest and some stuff on his belt there. His belt is a dark color, so I'll go in and do that first. So yeah, let's do his belt. Guess I'll do it in black. No, I don't have my black here. I'll just do it in this same color. So this piece is not molded in. If you look at his belt here, is that on camera? You can see there's a sort of a loop on his belt, and there's the circle here molded in, but not the loopy bit. So I'm just gonna paint that effectively. Like, yeah. And then in this model, the bits on the side are a little bit further over. But these are going to be some green buttons and some white buttons here, or green and white lights. Gracious, I got a lot of paint on the brush that time, didn't I? Oh no, it's just watery, that's the problem. Didn't dry my brush enough. Important tip, if you get too much watery paint on the model, you can soak it up with your brush, just like that. Easily fixed. So one thing I've seen in several Darth Vader illustrations that kind of puzzles me is that he has this clown collar here. You can see his collar here. In this illustration, it's got several different shades. Or it's got two shades alternating. I feel like if I do that on the model, it'll look too cartoonish, but maybe I need to do it? I don't know. Don't know why I'm worried about what his back looks like, since he's going to have his cape covering that entirely. I want to spend at least an hour on Luke. So it is 10:20. I'll give myself 40 more minutes to work on Vader, and then spend an hour working on Luke as well. Okay. I need to... What did I do with my black paint? I'm gonna want that. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. It was there, it was just hiding. Okay, so I'm gonna get just a tiny... This again is that surface primer, the Vallejo, like super duper surface primer. I'm using it for bits that need to be black, 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 like his boots, his gloves, his collar here. And this chest panel just needs a line across the top of it there. There we go. Okay, so his collar is light in the middle and then alternating. Do Castle Gray for that light bit in the middle of his collar. This is army paint. I got when I started painting, I bought oh man, that's not shaken up enough. A starter kit that had a bunch of paints in it. And they're all Vallejos, army paint is the same thing as Vallejo. But a wide variety of my paints that I own are part of that. Problem is, this just really, really needs to be shaken like anything. So yesterday I thanked Mujade for joining, and then I realized later that's probably MU Jedi. So thanks for following MU Jedi if you're watching. Sorry I mispronounced your name yesterday. I mean, Jedi makes sense if you're watching a Star Wars related stream, right? There. So we're going to do a lighter band down the middle here. It is sculpted in, so. And then this is a lighter band here. And here. There. Doesn't look too bad. It'll do. All right. Now, let's do these lights. Is this my best brush for that? So this here looks sort of metallic, so I'm going to do that with gunmetal. As I said yesterday, gunmetal is a great metallic paint, and a tiny bit of it goes a long, long way. Just got the tiniest little dab on my brush. It's not as light as I'd like. I may do a little dry brush over that. Alright, on the sides here, it's got some white buttons there and some green ones. And it's just symmetrical. For the green, I'm going to use Waystone Green. This is one of the Citadel Technicals. Look at that stuff. And for this, I think I'm gonna go with the Psycho. I love the Psycho brush. This brush is, you can see, it's like a couple bristles at the end. You just get a tiny dab on there. And this is not so much painting as it is poking the model with paint. You're just getting a tiny, tiny bit on the brush bristle. and then sticking it on there. There we go. Looks pretty good. That belt buckle is looking all right. Now I need some white for those side ones. Just have, oh, that's off-white. Do I have a whiter white? Mummy robes. I think this is the whitest white I've got. So, I'll have to do. I mean, it's certainly going to be a good enough contrast. Yeah, shake it up good. To be fair, this is going to be pretty much obscured by, I didn't get any paint on it at all, by his cape, I think, once I put his cloak on. But I love doing these kinds of details. These are sort of the most fun bits of painting, so. This brush. There you go. Boop, boop, boop. Not actually painting, just sticking tiny little blips of paint on the model. Normally when you're painting, you're putting some paint on and then sort of pushing it around with the brush. I'm not doing any pushing around, I'm just getting a tiny bit of paint on the end of the brush and then just touching the model with it, and what transfers, transfers. That's too much paint. The Psycho is definitely a challenge to manipulate sometimes. Just enough on the end there. Well, yeah, yeah. It'll do. It'll do. All right, so there's his belt done. Let's do his chest plate. So it looks like he's got 4 buttons or 4 lights along the front of the chest plate here, but here he's got 4. We'll do 3 whites and a red. These are slightly bigger, so maybe the Psycho isn't necessary. There we go. That'll do. red and a blue, and then these are sort of grayish. We'll do those in this castle gray here that we already have out. Okay, red and blue. And then I'm going to do some work on his base. Nope. And use Vallejo Royal Blue for the blue light there. Don't even really need very much, it's just a touch. It's just the one light. That'll do. There we go. And for the red, I'm using the same thing that I used for his lightsaber, which is Evil Sun Scarlet. Pretty cool how just a tiny, tiny bit of color makes the whole model more interesting. There we go. There's his belt and his chest plate done. Lightsaber is looking good. I think Vader, aside from maybe a quick wash, and maybe I'm gonna, okay. I have this, where'd it go? This dark gray that I bought a while back, and it turned out after I used it that it's a gloss. So I'm going to use that on his eyes quickly to give them a little bit of shine. I might, if I'm feeling ambitious. There we go. Might just tap his eyes with a bit of white to imitate light reflecting off of them. Just give him a glimmer in his eyes. Okay, so that's that. Let's do his base. This is so simple. I'm just gonna do all the bases in an oak brown and put a black wash over it. And then I just need to glue him together, maybe do a wash, maybe do some like tiny, tiny detail work on the eyes. And we'll say Vader is done, and I can work on Luke. I'm going to need more of this oak brown. This is probably my most used paint. Where's my sort of abused brush? I have a couple of brushes that I've mangled slightly, and they're good for base work. Yeah, look how awful this brush is. Who cares? Because all I'm doing is just bloop, bloop, bloop. This is relaxing almost after messing around with the Psycho and doing all that detail work. I'm gonna leave his footprints blank because I'm gonna have to glue him down. I'm gonna use the Gorilla Glue to stick him to his base so that he's more affixed. I have to decide what I'm going to do on the outside edge of the Rebel and Imperial bases. I was thinking maybe of doing the Imperials in red and the Rebels in blue. Which could look kind of cool, right? Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Oh my goodness, I can't forget to do Vader's nose. How could I possibly forget that? I need to boop his snoot. This looks very plain now, but when I put a Nuln Oil wash over it, it'll look like just dirt. And it's perfectly serviceable for a base. Yeah, I'm definitely going to need more oak brown if I'm going to be doing all these bases this way. It's a lot of bases. This is where I get a whole bunch of paint on my fingers. I don't mind. Yeah. That'll do the trick. Alright. So yeah, I need to boop his snoot. As you can see, Vader has a little chrome bit there, there, and there. And I'm just going to do it in white with this Psycho brush. to tip the brush a little bit. Get it. There we go. And then a dab of white. Most delicate little boop. There. And there. And there. There we go. Got him. There you go, Vader. Now you look like you. Can't believe I almost forgot to do that. Now, why not assemble him? I'm gonna use, this is the heavy-duty white Gorilla Glue. And it's acrylic glue. It did something really kind of funky when I was using it with the sand, which is that it had a chemical reaction with when I was doing snow on the base for my competition piece for the Winter's End competition. I used this Gorilla Glue and it foamed right up. I'm just going to dip his feet in the glue, get some on there. There we go. And just mash him on the base. There, perfect. And then let's glue his head onto his body. Should have done that in the other way. Oh well. Too late now. Hopefully there's not too much primer in this this hole here to prevent his head from going on. That's what I always worry about when I am priming pieces separately. This is why he popped off his base the first time. This is delicate work. On you go, head. Oof. A little bit more. There we go. I ruined the paint on his head. That's fine. Actually, more his shoulder. That's this stuff here. Oh, stay on your base, man. Oh. Okay. I'm just gonna let him stand there. But there we go. There's Darth Vader. Nook, Vader. I think he came out pretty well. And now I have a little time to work on Luke. So let's find a good image for Luke. Okay. We'll base Luke off this doll here. So that gives me some ideas to go off. Here's our Luke. It does look like it's the right outfit. You can see it's got the belt there. So the pouches are going to be brown, tan for his outfit. Yeah, this should be fun times. Thank you, Malcolm. I am quite pleased with how Vader came out. I think he is there. Oh, look, the glue is foaming up around his feet. That's so funky. I'm gonna... do I have a brush I can wipe that off with? I have a brush I'm never going to use again. So weird. Well, hopefully he'll stay in place at least. Nah. Stay on your base. So much for that brush. Okay. Let's get started on Luke. I'm going to start relatively simply with some flesh shade. He's a pasty fellow. I'm going to use Vallejo Rose Brown for his flesh. Don't want it to go on too thick. Because we're going to do a wash to pull this together. Wick it away a little bit where it's gotten into the crevices too much. Get down into the neck of his shirt here. There we go. This is pre-losing a hand, so he's got pink fleshy hands. Watery for my taste there. I want his fingers to be defined, so I'll soak some of that off. Again, I'll do a wash later, and that will help to finish. Okay. The brush is getting too wet, and it's really bugging me. You can see how the paint is beading up here. Tricky getting the insides of his palms and stuff. There we go.
There we go. Alright. What have I got that'll be a good tan? For his outfit. I feel like if I do skeleton bone, is that too white for that? I don't really have a tan paint. And I'm going to want to do his boots. I'm going to need 2 browns. I'll do his boots in fur brown. Again, I'll use my favorite oak brown for his belt and blaster holder. I'm going to try skeleton bone for his shirt and trousers. And once I put a wash on it, should look tannish. I've got 1 hour. He's got these pockets, but it looks like they're the same color as the trousers, in the illustration at least, or on this doll. So I'm just going to leave those. Trust the wash to do a lot of the differentiation. You can see his trousers are tucked into his boots. Man, I did it again. I need to do a better job drying my brush. He's gonna need a couple coats, I think. This is 100% the correct color scheme for this Luke. tan cargo pants. It's funny, the doll that I'm using as a basis for this color scheme has less detail on his cargo pant pockets than the tiny scale model that I'm painting. Relatively easy stuff that I'm doing right now. We'll get to the fun, intricate details soon. It's gonna need a second coat though. Hopefully I've got time. Okay, that's his trousers. Let's do his shirt. You can see on the doll here that his shirt has a separate pattern there. You can look on the figure here. Here's his belt. And then there's this extra thing here. It's like, does he have two belts? Is he 80s boy? Well, yes, he is. But in the doll, they just ignore it. So I'm just going to ignore it. I could give him a second belt. But I think it's just the ruff of his shirt. Get right up there without painting over his hands. edge of the brush a little bit. This is the sort of stuff where you get a little bit of paint over the line, and then when you do a wash, the wash settles into that nook and totally obscures it. I think it was Derek who told me a wash resolves a variety of sins. So I do not have a good paint for his hair. So I'm going to mix something, and that's going to be a fun adventure. You can clearly see he's light-haired, brown blonde, at least in this picture. Okay. Kind of want to glop some paint into this join here to obscure it if I can. That's where his arms are glued on. I love painting. So much fun. It does make the hours disappear though. I feel like I just sat down, and I've already been doing this since 9:30, so that's an hour and 15 minutes. Pretty good. Should have time to do a second coat before I do a wash. Second coat doesn't have to be as precise because the edges are already done. That's his shirt. Let's do his boots next. Since I've already resolved on a color for his boots. I'm doing those in fur brown. Might be a little bit browner than his boots there, but I don't think anybody's going to complain. Gives a good contrast. Whoa. Okay. Yep. Go. I feel like that looks okay. Probably should have gone a little lighter, but whatever. Try not to stress about mixing a color for his hair, but we'll be there in a moment. Kind of globbed that on a little thick, but that's okay. are on a time crunch here. Okay. Alright, so I guess hair next? What do you think? For his hair, I'm actually going to blend that with a touch of intense deep yellow. And the foam around Vader's feet is so weird looking and funny. And it's solidified now. At least he's never coming off that base. Look at that. I'll just run with it. Paint it brown and put a wash on it. Alright, so. Take some of this, and some of this, a little more brown, I think. No, that's just a muddy brown, not quite what I'm looking for. That's almost a fleshy color. What would happen if I take some of this and mix that with the yellow? Not happy. Not happy with this. I think the answer may be do it in a brown, do his hair in a brown, and then dry brush on yellow highlights. Or paler highlights, at least. Even go lighter on his hair and then do an earth shade wash, put in dark highlights or low lights, I guess. a little weird now, but I think when I put a darker wash on it, that'll actually work. So, getting closer. Gonna do some brown on his belt now. Back to oak brown. There we go. Oak brown. See that there's a holster here, but there's also the blaster sticking up out of the holster. So this little line here is part of the holster, I think. As is this. I know the tip end of his blaster is silver. That's actually in the holster, so we can't see that. I'm actually quite looking forward to doing these little brads here. They are on the doll, they're just silver, so that's going to be fun. Boy, did I grab a lot of paint on the brush that time. Yep. I don't know, maybe I'm getting tired. I just keep putting my brush in the paint and grabbing like a huge glop of paint on the top of the brush, which is not what I'm trying to do. Because you get no precision when you're painting with just a huge glop. progress. There. That's his belt and his holster. We'll do the gun in that necromancer cloak. There it is, necromancer cloak. There's blaster. Half an hour. Okay. Almost there. Almost done with the first coat. Gonna do his belt buckle and his lightsaber handle with the gunmetal. It's interesting, this doll here has a strap on his gun. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, let's paint that in. Get the impression that this doll I'm using for reference is what the sculptor used when sculpting Luke. Yeah, that's not as delicate as I would have liked it to be, but that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so we've got that on there. Belt buckle and the haft of his lightsaber are next.
Whoops. Sorry, Malcolm, what were you referring to as like painting with mashed potatoes? When you get too much on your brush? Because definitely that is like painting with mashed potatoes. Okay, lovely. You think the belt is dried enough by now for me to do these little brads? I'm gonna try. Getting close on Luke. We've got 20 minutes left to go. Pretty good. Gonna work on a second coat for his trousers and shirt, and then we'll try doing some washes. So Malcolm, I'm guessing that you're looking forward to there being a Boba Fett expansion for this, just based on your name, or your screen name. I'm gonna go a little bit faster here because I'm not doing the edges, I'm just getting in all these areas here that need some extra paint. Where you can see the base coat sort of showing through.
So if I spend an hour and a half per figure, which is about where it looks like it is in terms of painting, if I want to get this level of detail out of them. And there's 33 figures in the box. How long would it have taken me to completely paint everything in the box to the level of detail that I'm trying to get to? Be 46 and a half hours, I think. And I only have like 8 hours a week of free discretionary time I could dedicate to that. If I treated painting Legion as a full-time job, I could probably do the whole box in half a week. Sadly, it's not my full-time job. I mean, I love my job, but painting figures is not it. Okay, I'm gonna do the base now. And then we're going to, what brush am I using for the base? I'll use this brush. Then we're going to do some washes. Coming together though. Need more paint. So weird, that foam that foamed up around Vader's feet. It just looks bizarre. But what you gonna do? I do like how his face came out though. Before I do a wash on Luke, I want to touch up one of his hands. I can see there's a bit of one of his sleeves that needs a tiny bit more paint. We'll let him dry for a little bit and do a wash on him. 10 minutes. Then the pièce de résistance. His lightsaber. A tiny touch up on one of his hands. Right there. There. One of his sleeves needed just a touch right there. There we go. And let's do that lightsaber. Yeah, it doesn't have interchangeable saber blades. It is strictly one saber. And I am doing it in blue, his father's saber. And yes, this is not The Empire Strikes Back. This is... Or, no, this is Empire Strikes Back. It's in... I'm virtually positive he uses the blue lightsaber in the Empire Strikes Back fight. I could be wrong. I guess I'll be embarrassed if I got this wrong. Is not enough time to do a wash. Well, overall, I'm pretty happy with how these folks came out. Touch up Vader's boots where they're foamed. I don't have time to do a wash right now, so I'll have to do a wash later. I have to go open the store, and we're gonna have hordes of people coming in who want to play this game, hopefully. So I need to set up one of the terrain tables with Star Wars terrain. And get these guys to the table. And hey, maybe I should start reading the instructions. Learn how to actually play this game that I have spent the last few days painstakingly assembling and painting. Alright. So to conclude, thank you for joining me, Malcolm, and anybody else who decided to watch as I painted up the Star Wars Legion heroes, or hero figures. Here we have Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader ready to go. And I'm gonna go set stuff up right now so that people can actually play with them today. So we may have a chance to stream some gameplay. More likely we're going to do some like take some video and post it to Facebook, but shorter snippets. Anyhow, that was a lot of fun, and I know I've got a lot more work to do, but I feel like I made good progress today. Now, I've got 4 minutes to get the store open. Bye everybody. Thanks for joining me.